Welcome back. You are listening to the Maryam Mkwanda Show on Salam Media. It's 17 minutes past 12 on this 18th day of November 2020. It is Wednesday. Right. It is also Movember month, and today we are going to be talking about men's mental health awareness with Islamic Care Line social worker Shuhaida Adam, who is currently joining me on the line. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Shuhaida.
Walaikum salam, Sister Maryam. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, all well, and yourself?
Alhamdulillah. All good on the Care Line side.
All good on the media side as well. It's been a while.
Yeah, sure. I think there's just so much been happening.
Yeah, we'll blame it on the lockdown. We'll blame it on the coronavirus. I guess that the 2020 can take the blame for that. But yeah, the show must go on, as I always say. Now, surveys from around the world show that men everywhere find it difficult to open up about mental health, though they are significantly more at risk of attempting suicide than women. In high income in countries, three times as many men as women die from suicide. And this is according to a World Health Organization report from 2018. Despite these staggering figures, the National Institute of Mental Health report that men are less likely than women to have received mental health support. Now, why is this the case? Why do men don't receive any mental health support?
So, when we talk about men's mental health, we have to talk about the stigma around it.
Yeah.
If I can just go a little bit backwards and then just understand what is mental health. So when we talk about mental health, what exactly are we referring to, right? So a nice definition I found is mental health includes our emotional, our psychological, and our social well-being. And it affects how we think, how we feel, how we act. It determines how we handle stress, how we relate to each other, how we make choices. So if you can see, mental health actually encompasses almost every area of our life.
Mm-hmm.
All of these, when we talk about emotional, psychological, and social, these then impact on our physical health. It will impact on our family relationships. It impacts on our friendships. It impacts on, just our general well-being.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things when we talk about stigma is what are the expectations that a man feels are on him. And in general, men, this is just in general, right? Men tend to feel that they have to show that they are capable, they are strong, they live up to a certain standard, they can provide, they fulfill certain expectations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we feel the strength of those expectations on us, and when men feel the strength of that, they often feel that there can be no deviation around it. So if I cannot show that I'm struggling, I cannot show that I can't provide, I cannot show any of this. So therefore, then, if I can't show it, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want people to know. So it just becomes a big secret, or it becomes something that I try my best to cope with, but not realizing that mental health, as important as it is, you can't really cope with it alone and solve the issues around it. So one of the biggest barriers for men accessing any form of mental health, or even talking about things related to that, is the stigma around it.
Mm-hmm. Now, how does the stigma affect men's ability to seek help?
So it's as simple as men who require, say, an antidepressant medication. As simple as they don't want to go to the pharmacy, especially if you go maybe to a pharmacy where you built a relationship with a pharmacist, and you feel too ashamed to have that pharmacist know that you are on an antidepressant. It's as simple as that part. Or it's as complex as really not even going to seek the help that you need to get the correct diagnosis, or making that phone call to speak to a counselor, or even reaching out to a significant other. For example, a man who's living with his wife and you're going through so much emotional health problems that the stigma prevents him from reaching out, and he can hit rock bottom. But with that stigma, he may feel that I will not let my wife know I'm going through this, or I will not reach out to my parents. And this is then where, in your introduction, as you said, men are more likely then to experience higher rates of mental health problems because they're less likely to reach out for help, afraid again of what I said, of appearing weak, of appearing helpless, or often of feeling that no one can help me. It's something that I have to do on my own. It impacts on my identity. I, as a man, how does this affect on me? What will people think? What will my friends think? What will my community think of me, or the family, my children? There's one great fear that men have, and that's of appearing weak to their children. So they do not want to, a lot of men do not want to address this. I'm saying do not, but I'm actually quite incorrect here. Because I'll just tell you that there's been great strides, let's say in the past, like 15 years or 20 years, there has been great strides in terms of men and mental health. And things like Movember has really made a difference.
Now, is the way that males are brought up also a causing factor for the reason why they do not want to seek help, or are unable, rather, to seek help?
It can play a great role. The thing of boys don't cry, man up and face your problems. How many men will tell you that they've had to hear that, or even if they haven't heard the exact words, they had to live with that. Don't be a crybaby. Why are you crying? You're a boy. You must be strong. That kind of a thing. So when parents impart that on young men, on the boy child actually, and then even as they get older, I remember in one of our lectures, it came up also that oftentimes when children are younger, then the older sister would be told to, look after her brother and see to his needs. But then as they get older, then the boy is told, you need to watch out for your sister. When you people go out together, watch for your sister, keep an eye on her, protect her, that kind of a thing. So from a young age, also they socialized within the family environment and even within the community environment. Because, when the community comes together, oftentimes when they call the men, there's certain work the men have to do that they call them. And they have to be a part of this. And if the men are unable to do it, then it's a case of, well, we as a community have failed in whatever task it was we were doing. So it's a critical thing. Family of origin play a great role. And also where there is the presence of mental illnesses in the family, so family history of mental health problems, that can also be a precursor to someone then being diagnosed in their own life. And if it wasn't diagnosed, it makes it a lot harder for somebody to accept that the next generation might then also pick up this mental health problem. So they may have a predisposition towards it. If it's not diagnosed, if you don't understand what you're working with, you can't really resolve it in a way. You can't cope with it if you don't really know what you're working with. You're kind of just, putting out fires as they come along. So the important thing of people reaching out for mental health, for help with that, is that there can be a plan, a strategy, there can be coping skills that they can learn, so that in the broader context, the family then can cope with the bigger issue. It's not just about putting out the small little fires. So if there's a little argument here, a little argument there, or he's having a bad day today and we just have to resolve it for now, or he's in a mood, or, you can't go to work today, we're trying to just get him through today. When you have an understanding of what you're working with, and when you work with a professional, you can then have, like I said, a plan for the bigger picture.
Now, as a person, a spouse perhaps, or a sibling, or a parent of a man who is suffering from mental health, how can you, first of all, be aware of the signs and symptoms that he is going through a mental health issue, and how can you offer the support and assistance, the help that he will need to recover from the mental health?
Okay, so, I read a little bit that mental health symptoms display a bit differently in men compared to women. Apparently, women are a bit more emotional with their mental health issues, so it's a little bit more visible that you can see. With men, some of the signs and symptoms, essentially you're looking at abnormal behavior. You're looking at what is not normal for this person. Okay, so something like either the sleeping patterns have changed, and it's impacted over a period of time. So it's not just a couple of days or 1 or 2 weeks. It's over a period of time, at least about 6 weeks, 4 months, 5 months. And you know that once it starts becoming Once it starts becoming common, then you know now this is a bit of something to worry about. So it's looking at sleeping patterns, eating patterns, withdrawal from people that they used to be close to for no real reason, the withdrawal from activities they used to partake in, if they're just not feeling any sense of fulfillment from it. There's a sense of feeling of a numbness towards so many things, a numbness towards, again, maybe people that they were close to, a sense of feeling that things don't matter, nothing matters, there's no real hope in the world, or, whatever people do, it's just pointless. So they may feel that they are living a monotonous life and things are so pointless and there's no brightness in the future. Then there's unexplained physical illnesses, so things like, tension headaches, tension muscle pains. One other thing that men, unfortunately, are also quite at risk of, men with mental health issues, is substance abuse. So if they are starting to smoke or drink or use drugs more than usual, then and an addiction is developing, then it's also a sign that something is wrong. Where they're unusually on edge, unusually angry, upset, tense, fearful of things going wrong, forgetful. So they're not really focused on the present also. And then when there's the relationships, in terms of relationships where there's just a downgrade of the relationship, so where there's often fighting, where there's withdrawal, where there's pulling away, and where there's just, they're not feeling fulfilled in the same relationships with family and friends. Then you look at mood swings also, the severe mood swings. And I know oftentimes when people have mood swings, then I'm quick to say bipolar. But it's not often the case. Bipolar will need a separate diagnosis. It can be just general mood swings, so be aware of that. And these mood swings, they start impacting on your relationship. So people are entitled to feel down. People are entitled to feel upset about certain things. They can have moments of sadness, etc. But when it's impacting on your relationship, it's impacting on your work performance, for example, your colleagues, your interactions with your colleagues, impacting even with strangers in the street, if you're going to the supermarket, for example, and your moods are impacting on how you interact with strangers, or road rage, for example, then that can be a sign that something is off. Something else is more severe now, mental health issues, is where they start hearing voices, they start having extreme thoughts, so say paranoia, suspicion, distrust of the world, and people are out to get them. They start having visions, and then the ones you really, really worry about is self-harm. If people start harming themselves, either intentional or there's extremely reckless behavior, and they just have lost a sense of fear for themselves. So we would then worry about that. And then, of course, each specific, if there's a mental health disorder, specific disorder, then that would come with its own specific set of criteria also that a person would have to match and would have to go off, and that a psychiatrist and a clinical psychologist can then do a diagnosis for this person.
And how do we get to the community to start talking about mental health? Because, I mean, it starts first with the communities. It starts in the homes, and we're the ones who create a bigger thing out of nothing. When we stigmatize, and because of the stigma, men are less reluctant to get help, to get assistance. So obviously the community needs to start talking about mental health in men. So how do we do this?
It's so powerful when men talk to men. I just can't even explain just how powerful it gets when men have, open, candid conversations with each other about matters like mental health, about how they feel, about their relationships, how they interact with relationships. When they talk about domestic violence, the words that come from there, and how you can just see, sometimes when you see them talk to each other, you can see the shift in the recipient. You can just see the shift in his mind also, and there's buy-in. There's a lot of buy-in when men talk to men. So like you said, on a community level, so when our community leaders, or even if they're not formalized leaders, but people who are, people who engage with others, people who are active in their community, they take an interest in people. When they check up on each other, when they talk about how they feel. You know, I read an article about uh, it was a military, one of the military leaders. He was something senior in the military, and he would make an appointment every week to speak to the military psychologist. It was an international army; it wasn't ours. Every week he would go in front of everyone, and he would go for his appointment, and his whole like his troops under him, they all knew that he was going for this appointment with the psychologist. He would go there and he'd talk about many general things. At the end, when he was ready to leave that placement, the psychologist asked him, "Why exactly did you come? Because I never really picked up on much." And he said, he did it so that others could see that if someone as senior as him could go, it just opened the pathway for others to go without that stigma. So when we talk about it, it lessens the fear around it. It also allows men to see that, hey, it's okay if I'm struggling. Other people struggle also. And they can support each other. So yes, once we start at community level, then I'm hoping then it will filter down into home level. So even at the family table, or when parents are sitting with their children, or even grandparents, aunts, uncles, whoever the child stays with, caregivers, when they're sitting and talking to their children afterwards, they can talk about feelings and emotions and ask the child to share how they feel. How do they feel about whatever happened? If something happened at school, then it's good and well for the child to tell you, in fact, like, give you the facts of what happened, but then talk also around it, the feelings around it. If they were bullied, for example, all their feelings. And it really helps when children, when they're younger, they can start learning to identify their feelings. It really helps so they develop their sense of self-awareness. And when they have a sense of self-awareness, then it starts, as they get older, it leads to so much positive benefit in terms of their own development. So rightly so, community level resources, even what is available for families. Because oftentimes people don't know what's in their own communities, or who can they go to for help. There's counselors in their own communities that they don't know about. And the more we talk about it, the more we share these resources, the more we can then allow people to access help.
Definitely, and we need to start talking about it. Need to accept it, because it's a problem that has been around for a while, and people did not know how to handle it and how to talk about it. But I guess now with months like Movember, people are more open, or rather are opening up to the idea of mental health awareness amongst men. Shukran so much for your time once again, Shuhaida. Looking forward to chatting with you again.
Afwan, it's always a pleasure to be on your show. Inshallah, we will continue on with this topic for the rest of the month, hopefully.
Inshallah. Ameen. Have a wonderful day. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
That was Shuhaida Adam, a social worker at Islamic Care Line, and giving us some information about the Mental Health Awareness Month in South Africa, rather mental health awareness all over. If you would like to contact Islamic Care Line, you can call 078-727-133 and they are at 32 Dolly Ratebe Road in Fordsburg, Johannesburg. If you'd like to contact them for any counseling related issues, if you would like to contact them for social work related issues, the 078-727-1334. We will be right back after the break.
Penny Appeal are doing something special. They're giving you the chance to make sure that 100%